The healthcare community is currently experiencing a massive shortage of medical supplies. The costume shop at Pacific University is leading the effort to lessen the impact of the shortage of medical masks. Please join our efforts to produce this life-saving device. You can participate in this program if you have basic sewing knowledge, a machine, and are not currently showing signs of COVID-19 or sheltering with anybody who is. Because the medical community can't use just any materials, we've developed these following guidelines. You'll need 100% woven cotton, no knit fabric, no used materials, multiple layers, no single layers, no metal inserts, and lastly, it must be washed and it must be washable. To make these masks, you'll need 4 things. Cotton, woven, no stretch. Cotton bias tape. Double fold, extra wide, I'm using a 1/2 inch. Thread. The costume shop at Pacific University has developed a pattern for ease of use and quick production. You're not required to use this pattern. You can search online for a multitude of available patterns as long as they meet the specifications listed earlier. Before I get started, I'm going to wash my hands thoroughly and never, never, never touch my face. It's better for your skin anyway. Let's go check out the pattern. Here I have 2 layers of the 100% cotton laid together and ironed. I have the lines marked out at 10 inches by 8 inches. Now we're going to cut straight along those lines, both fabrics together. Next you'll need your bias tape, which you'll want 2 36-inch pieces of. And instead of cutting one by one, I like to fold at the center where 36 inches is, double it, and snip, and then snip in the middle. Some fabrics have what we refer to as a right side and a wrong side, and that means a pretty side and a back side. This piece of material is an example of what has a right side and a wrong side. So pretty side, not pretty side, right side, wrong side. This muslin doesn't have a right side or a wrong side, so you can use any side that you want. After you've placed the right sides together, give it a good iron all the way across. Make sure they're nice and flat and married together. After that, you're going to take the 2 long sides and pin them together. I like to use this method of pinning as opposed to this method of pinning for ease of sewing, being able to take them out as you go instead of having to take out the long side. You're going to start sewing on 1/4 inch, usually lined up with the side of the presser foot. Presser foot down, needle in, and then you're going to back stitch at the top and the bottom of this. My machine's back stitch function is right here. Do that 3 or 4 times to secure the stitching line, and then proceed forward. Pulling out the pins before you get to them. Back stitch one more time. Gonna work on side 2, stitching at 1/4 inch again, or lined up with the edge of the presser foot. Starting in, back stitching a couple of times, continuing forward, pulling out the pins as you go. Back stitching one more time. Now that we have the 2 pieces joined together, we're going to roll one of the layers forward, open up the seam, and iron it flat. It is so difficult not licking my fingers to do these operations. Pins in mouth, licking fingers, kind of standard fare for a lot of seamstresses. Not anymore. Once you've got those ironed open, you're going to turn the whole thing right side out. That'll be your right sides outside now. Your wrong sides facing each other inside. Make sure everything's laying flat. Take the iron again. And there you go. Now you're ready to put in the pleats. Pleats add shaping and dimension to a project, making a 2D object into a 3D object. We're going to pleat the short sides of this piece of masks. I like to start in the center, just give it a little pinch. And if you want to be extra secure, you can pin both one side and the other side. So it's sitting down flat, makes it a little easier to sew. Pinch the other side about halfway between the edge and the other pleat you just made. Pin again. And a third time. These pleats should all be going the same way. Makes it a little bit more uniform in general. The whole thing should end up being about 3 inches, and I'm right on the money. Do that to both sides. Next, we're going to baste down the pleats just to hold them in place until we can apply the bias tape. And a basting stitch is a very long stitch, usually around 4 for some machines. Some machines can go up to 6, but you don't have to backstitch on this. All you have to do is run a stitch on a scant 1/4 inch right along the right side of the presser foot. And you can leave the pins in for this maneuver, just be sure to be very careful and baby your needle over it so you don't hit a pin. The double pinning helps the underside of the pleats not flip up underneath. Now that we have this pleats basted down, we're going to give it another quick iron. See, now you have the nice creases between each of the pleats. Next, we're going to apply the bias tape. I've taken one side of it, 1/36 inch side, and found just about the halfway mark, which is going to be just about at the halfway mark of our mask. This is, again, single fold or double fold extra wide bias tape, about 1/2 inch. So open your bias tape up, push one side underneath, have the edge meeting at the fold. And for this, because it's so narrow, I do like to pin this way. Instead of pinning crosswise, it's a technically tricky move to try to get pins this way on a narrows. I'll show you again on the other side. Open up your bias tape, snuggle the bottom underneath. Be very careful. Pinning this, it can get out of hand real quick. I've stabbed myself 3 times already. It's very embarrassing. And there you go. And last, we're going to sew down the bias tape with a zigzag stitch all the way from one end to the other. And I'm testing right now. I have it on zigzag stitch. I'm testing right now to see if the width of the zigzag is wide enough and if it's close or far enough together. Ideally, you want to have this zigzag stitch reach from about the corner or the end of the bias tape to as far as you can over this way to give it the most amount of grip on either side. So I'm gonna just start with one and go over, and that looks pretty good. I think I'm gonna widen it. Nope, that's as wide as it'll go, and so that will be fine. So I know that I've got the widest stitch available for zigzag and about a medium length of stitch. On my machine, the settings are 5 width and 2.5 length. And now I can start sewing, do the same back stitching thing, give it a good heavy back stitch so it doesn't come undone. Might want to hold it back here a little bit to help it through over this bulkiness. Make sure this end stays tucked up into the fold the whole way down. And there it is. The mask you've seen constructed today is called the Pacific University Pleated Rectangular Mask. Please note that we're using Phase 2 guidelines. Now I'm going to explain how to package these babies up. If you are a Pacific student and you are still on campus, you can go to the library, and inside you'll find a 24-hour study room with shelves that are well marked. Choose an appropriately sized plastic Ziploc bag and write the following: Crafters Against COVID-19 PDX, name of the pattern used, quantity of masks and phase number, time and date the box was sealed, maker name and contact info, materials used, and once you seal the bag, it must remain sealed. If you are a community member in Multnomah County or have chosen to go home as a student, you can drop them off yourself. For those of you choosing to drop off your masks, box them up and write the following information on the outside. Crafters Against COVID-19 PDX. Name of pattern used. Quantity of masks and phase number. Time and date the box was sealed. Write the maker name and contact info, materials used, and a brief description. Once you seal the box, it must remain sealed. We're currently using the guidelines written by Crafters Against COVID-19 PDX, and you're welcome to take a look at their Facebook group. If you're not affiliated with Pacific University, you have a couple of options to get your masks where they need to go. Visit either of these two websites for more info. Your help is going to protect thousands in the healthcare industry and the community. Thank you so much for participating in Pacific University's mask-making efforts.